Ortodóntica Podcast.
Hola amigos, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos al Mixtape, este programa en donde hablamos de música con músicos. Hoy tenemos a un gran invitado, viene del otro lado del charco, como lo decimos aquí, y pues, ¿qué podemos decir? Es un gran productor, un gran escritor, y aparte él es cineasta, y con nosotros en el estudio hoy, Until the Ribbon Breaks. ¿Cómo estás? How are you, man?
Great, how are you?
I'm really good. I want to start this conversation with one question. I do this a lot, and it's how was the music? How was this ambient in your childhood? What do you listen when you are growing up? I know you're from Wales, from Cardiff, and I want to know what's going on in this time in music terms.
Well, my parents, they're both retired now, but my parents are both professional classical musicians.
Right.
My mum played in the ballet, and my dad was a player but gave up, and went on to make parts for musical instruments.
Okay.
So I don't actually remember a time where music wasn't the kind of central focus. There was a piano in my house. You know, my mum was practicing at 6 a.m, and there was always some sound happening. And I even remember on the weekends, instead of getting a babysitter or a childminder, my parents would take my sister and I to their rehearsal, and we would just sit in an empty theatre and watch an orchestra perform, which at the time I hated, you know.
Yes.
I wanted to be hanging out with my friends. But now, looking back, I realise what a privilege that was and what an amazing experience. But you know, youth is wasted on the young, as they say. But there was always music around. But my parents didn't listen to classical music when they weren't at their work.
Yeah.
And they both listened to very different things. My biggest influence from my dad, I think, is probably Pink Floyd.
Okay.
That was huge for me. I think like any kid discovering Pink Floyd, you don't just discover music, you discover this
Like a lot of sense.
World of art, and it pushes the boundaries of what you thought music was, you know.
Yeah.
And then my mum would listen to a lot of kind of soul and Motown, like whether it was Nina Simone, or she would listen to Stevie Wonder. So there was just all this different music flying around.
Okay, that's very interesting. And so you learn something about classic music when this is happening, or what's your first approach to an instrument or something like that?
My parents were never, as far as I can remember, I don't think they kind of made us pick up an instrument or anything. I think I wanted to. The first instrument I went to lessons for, or the only instrument I've ever gone to lessons for, was the trumpet,
Okay. Yeah.
which I started playing when I was 8. But, you know, whatever your parents do, I think you rebel against it a bit. So I never wanted to read music. I never wanted to play music that somebody else had written and just read it off a page. So I remember being really excited when I went to school, and there was a new music teacher who was teaching an after-school jazz thing. And I didn't know what improvising, or I didn't know what that was, because, you know, my mum would practice based on it. Yeah, exactly.
Always in the line.
Exactly. So that was really amazing for me to discover that you could make something up and just especially jazz in the sense that in the moment you could make something up and literally just feel it, you know. That was amazing for me, and I don't think I ever went back.
Okay.
Then I didn't want to do lessons or win band or any of that. Then I wanted to like make music, not just play music.
This happened at what age?
That was young. Probably 8 or 9.
And then you wanna write songs, like you start with writing, or you start with production, or what's the way that?
Yeah, singing came last.
Okay.
I still to this day don't consider myself. If someone said, "What do you do?" I would never say singer. Like I honestly started singing because I wanted to write words, and someone had to do it.
Yeah.
You know, for me it was like the first thing I remember. In terms of like bands or that kind of music was there were these kids in my school. It must have been like 11 or 12 when you first go to, you know, high school.
Yeah.
And as you know, it's wild because suddenly you realize there's different kinds of people.
Yes.
Like there'd be people who like sport and you're like, well, who am I going to be? And there were these kids that, you know, had long hair and wrote all over their bags, and I was just like, okay, that's interesting. And I went and spoke to them, and they were like the rock kids, you know, and they had this band, they loved Nirvana.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember not wanting to be in a band, but wanting to record them.
Okay.
And that was like 11 or 12. So not knowing how to record, or I just remember, or like I wanted to help them shape the songs or something. So I think I wanted to be a producer long before I even considered writing, for sure.
Sure. So in this way, in this path of production, where do you start? You start recording these guys from school, or we're going?
No, no, I did.
I get it. At 12, it's difficult. I know, but
Yeah.
but you had
yeah.
but you had the idea that you want to do it, no?
Yeah, it was just like it was more like I knew that there's this music you could listen to,
Yes.
like Nirvana, and they would play me all this music, and I knew it was captured on a CD or a cassette. But I didn't know how to get from there to there. But that was like
Mind blowing.
You know, so I think the next thing that happened is that I skateboarded forever. I was a skateboarder, and I would recommend that to any kid, because for me, I was terrible at skateboarding, absolutely terrible. But the people you meet, it's like that was my avenue for music, the way I dressed, the way I spoke. Like, you're always outside, everything's an adventure. Like, skateboarding gave me all the music I listen to now. And, you know, skateboarding is one of those things. You go to the skate park when you're a kid and, like, the older kids are doing kick flips. And you're like, maybe one day I could be, you know, they seem so, like, cool. So they were listening to all this, like, all these punk bands from the States. And then, but there was this one called Dylan was his name, who said, oh, there's this guy called DJ Shadow, right? And I didn't know what any of that meant. I didn't know what DJ was, and I remember listening to that record. I think he recorded it for me onto a tape. And I remember listening to it, and it changed the course of my life, because I was confused. You know, I liked everything. I liked a bit of everything. And that's why I was always like, I can't just be that one of those kids or one of those kids, because, like, I like a bit of that, like a bit of that, like a bit of that. And then so hearing that, I was like, oh, there's a thing called a sampler. Yeah. And you can just take the whole world and make something new out of it. And then, you know, this is in Wales. Like, I then had to where do you get this magical contraption?
Yeah.
And then I had a Saturday job working in a butcher,
Okay.
and saved up and found a sampler, which was not, by then I'd like got magazines and stuff to try and look what DJ Shadow was doing, and he was on the drum pads, but I had to get it was a rack mounted Akai sampler, and you had 6 seconds of sample time. And that was it, and floppy disks, and I just, that's all I've done since. Yeah.
At this time, you were like into filmmaker too, or into filmmaking, or this part comes along?
The name Until the Ribbon Breaks, originally, I feel like the meaning changes with every album, but the original meaning was, my dad had a workshop where he does his work, and he would listen to music in there. So when I was a really young kid, I'd just go in there and look around, and I found a box of cassettes and VHS tapes at the same time. And so I discovered film and music at the same time. And then the name means, because they were both tapes, the name is and then I played them until the ribbon broke.
Okay. That's a cool,
because I fell in love with music and film at the same time. I decided to do film instead of music when I was about 18, 19. I don't know why, or at least that's what I decided I wanted to go to school for. And so I did. I went to university not for very long, to do film. And I just ended up never showing up because I wanted to make music. And so at that point I was like, what are we doing? This one's obviously pulling you. But I've always tried to do both. Never really known which one is my focus or whether I need to care about that. I love them both.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the inspiration of your music first. You said it was a discover. So if you can give us like an album that marks part of your life, what is it?
It would have to be DJ Shadow introducing his first record, or I guess earlier than that, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Okay.
Which in a way are kind of similar. In a weird way. They definitely were the first time I'd heard like spoken word elements and things on records. Like Dark Side of the Moon almost sounds like it's samples, the genius being is that they made it all. Or Introducing sounds like it's trying to be a psychedelic rock band with 6 people in it. But point is, those 2 records definitely just completely changed my concept of what an album could be. They felt massive.
Okay. This inspires you to do like a full band thing, or where the band starts?
Well, Until the Ribbon Breaks was just me at the beginning, and it was purely designed as a way to try and do film and music. Basically, I just wanted to make enough music that someone would ask me to do a film score.
Okay.
That was the plan. Because, as I said, I never really wanted to be the front man of a band. That's not like... I love making stuff. I like being on the other side of the camera. I like being in the studio.
Okay.
So I really had... So, to answer your question... when Until the Ribbon Breaks, kind of as a surprise to me, people started wanting to see it live and listening to it. I'd signed a record deal in America, so I asked two good friends of mine to tour it with me, and naturally it just became that we were more of a three-piece band.
Okay.
And then, you know, we had some amazing times. We toured America. It was like a dream, you know, from some kids.
I see a lot of videos, like 2 live sessions that was like incredible to see, because it's like 9 years ago, where one it's NPR, Tiny Desk, and the other is KXP. I think in that time it was not big of a deal like now, and found you in those videos were like wow, and the live performance, it was great. Like it catch me immediately, and I want to know first, in this part, in these years, how was the live production and how it changed to this moment? Because you were 3 and now you're just you. So how is this?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's an interesting time you ask that, because I'm just about to do the first proper live show that I've done in 5-6 years.
Okay.
But James, who is one of those guys that you saw in the videos, he's going to do it with me. So we're figuring out how to do it to start with as a 2-piece, which is really exciting. Like, I went to see Tom York do his solo stuff, a show here, and it was just him and Nigel Godrich. And the size of the sound, there was no moment watching it where I wished there was more people, you know. And I've always wanted to use visuals and things. So again, to answer your question, I think it's about, I used to use a lot of effects and stuff on my voice live, but if I'm honest, it was never because I thought it would sound good. It was because I was self-conscious about my voice.
Like you're trying to hide it?
Yeah, to hide it in reverb or whatever, you know. And this new album, even in concept, is about just kind of being grateful to even be doing this, and certainly being more honest. So I think it's the and I don't know. We start rehearsals next week, but it's a great question, because I don't know what it's going to be like. But my hope is that I certainly don't want to do it stripped down. You know, I love the idea of this huge sound, and the visuals. We'll have to see, but I'm so excited to play it live, and we're going to do some of those old songs. So who knows?
We know when is this happening?
The first show is in the UK. It's a festival, and which is in 3 weeks, which is crazy to me. And the and the rehearsals start next week. So I just don't know.
But
is it?
I see 2 live session. I don't know if it's like sessions or it's just one. But I see Under the Trees, and that performance, it was really good, and you were all alone. So you don't want to do that in like a show?
Sorry, that's a really loud helicopter.
Don't worry.
To do it alone, first of all, you mean the things like in my garden where it's those things. First of all, it's fucking hectic.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much, because I don't want to. I've never really been interested in like an acoustic version, because the sound is what I love, all the sounds. So for me to try and do it alone it's kind of stressful.
Okay.
You never actually get a second to enjoy it because you're like, what do I have to do next? What do I have to do next? So I think, and also it's just not fun, like doing anything alone.
Yeah.
You want to turn around in the end and be like, oh.
There's nobody there.
Yeah.
I say this because I really like that live session and the way you were playing all the things, but
it's not fun for me.
Yeah, no, it's not fun for you. Yeah, sure. And because I found like similarities to FKA and Fred again. So that's what's happened like now. Fred again, it's like super big. And bueno, let's talk about. I want to ask, what's come to your head first, the image or the sound in making one song?
That's a great question. Also, I love your T-shirt. I just noticed that you had 2-pack T-shirt.
Yeah,
love it. What comes first? I'm not one of those people. I don't like see colors or what is it? Or see colors. You know what I mean? I don't see sounds. Is that what people? Yeah, I don't know.
Because in the production, you always like kind of have that idea that makes you do the actual music. So I want to ask that it's first the image, and you think about the video and how it's gonna raise, how it's gonna go down, like, or it's first the music. It's the music first.
I wish I knew that, because then I could kind of intentionally make it happen. I tend to have these just massive bursts of energy to do a whole album with a whole concept. And then I'll go nuts for a year or 2 years even to make that record. And then it just disappears. The desire disappears. And I find myself wanting to make other things. Okay. Like I'm covered in paint right now because I was just doing some paintings and photography stuff.
Yeah, see, I see a collaboration in painting.
Yeah.
It was cool.
That stuff's such a joy for me because I don't care if it's good or it's bad or if anyone else ever sees it. It's just for me to. Music inevitably. When you start doing it for a career, you start judging yourself.
Yes.
This album, not so much actually. And also, this is the first record I've made sober. That really helped that. But yeah, making other things that aren't music feels more like when I was a kid making music. It's just like I'm literally just throwing stuff. I don't know. It might be I might look at it in 5 hours and say that's the worst thing I've ever seen. But the 5 hours was fun. That's the point, And music kind of at some point stopped being that way, and I'm just trying to get back to that now, I think.
I see it. I listen in the music, like I really enjoy the songs I heard of you. If you wanna start with the album, the album is called Visitors, right?
Uh-huh.
And you have 4 songs out or 3 right now?
4, I think. Yeah,
4. I really like Carousel 1, and I Was Wrong.
Oh, I Was Wrong. I always forget about that song. I like that one too. I always forget about that.
I like it because the drums in the mix are set in a good position, and all the synthesizers that you use I like that sound that covers you with like warmth, and I don't know how to say it, but I really, really like that. I want to talk about Carousel, the the fit process. How you select the people who's gonna be in your album?
So Carousel specifically is a funny one because Homeboy Sandman is on the first Until the Rim Breaks record.
Okay.
And I was just a genuine massive fan. Like through DJ Shadow when I was 14, I obviously then discovered rap.
Yeah.
And then that became just a huge part of my life. And, you know, there's not many rappers in Wales, as you can probably imagine. So I was listening to a rap from the States, like we all do, you know. You got a Tupac shirt. And I don't know how I discovered it, but I'd heard Homeboy Sandman at some point, and he's just so lyrically, so just a genius. And so I guessed his email address.
Okay.
And he happened, really weirdly, he happened to be touring in the UK at that time. So I went and met him in a hotel, and we recorded that
in the hotel
track in a hotel.
Okay.
On the first album. And then we've stayed in touch ever since. And he's always, if there's a concept, he's always in my mind lyrically. So if there's a concept that he would nail any concept. But if there's one where I'm just like, oh, he could say all the things I wouldn't know how to put into words. So it's more that, I think, in terms of features, is
because you have another one that it's called Red Skies with Lapardo.
Yeah.
That one, it's, I had to ask what's the deal with that song?
What's the, like, what, how did that happen?
Yeah.
This is a even crazier story. So there's a lot of the things about making this album. When I say it out loud, I can't believe any of them happened. But we were in Joshua Tree doing the final sessions. I'd taken a few people there. James had come with me, and it's in the desert. So a rattlesnake showed up at the studio door. Huge rattlesnake doing its thing, hissing. And so luckily there was a groundskeeper on the studio called Julio from Guatemala. And he knew how to catch snakes. So he came, and he had such an amazing story that I asked if he would just talk on this song we were making. So he'd come to rescue this snake. He ended up recording on the song, and we put it before what was going to be the second verse. And then because of some of the harmony in there as well, it has a very kind of like those almost snake charmer melodies. It feels certainly not white European, you know. And so I just knew I wanted a Hispanic. I wanted Hispanic language on it. It felt like that to me. And so I started asking around. I didn't just want to kind of pick anyone. So my friend had a friend who lives in Colombia.
Yeah.
They sent me some links to some people, and it was just one of those instinctive things. I heard her voice, but I knew I didn't want to do it. I hate doing features and try not to ever do a feature that's just like an email back and forth.
Yeah.
So I went to Colombia.
You actually meet him.
Recorded this song. And it was absolutely amazing. You know, I think I landed in Bogota at 6 a.m. Was in the studio by 9 a.m. And by 11 a.m. she had written it. And 11 a.m. she had written it. And by 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 11 a.m. she had written it. And and I couldn't help her with not that she needed it, but I can't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So she just kind of was like, give me half an hour, and she just sat there with the track looping and then sung it to me. And it was, it's the most beautiful language. But then she could have been singing Happy Birthday for all I knew. So then I had to have her translate it. And then the lyrics were amazing. So it was an amazing experience.
Okay. It's really great to meet people like that go in the studio, like in 5 minutes they have something, or you play something and they're like, yeah, I got it.
Totally. And I think that's what this record taught me as well, is that collaboration is kind of, yes, if there's a great final result, great, but just the process of collaborating,
it's what brings you joy.
Yeah, and just tapping into another human brain is amazing,
Okay. And I want to talk about the videos. One about Strange Times. I want to know what's the idea, the inspiration, and the painting in the floor.
Yeah.
What it means.
Really funny question. The Strange Times one's really funny because I did have a strong idea, and just it's kind of typical of me to take on too much. Like I can make a short movie with a small budget and no people, and that'll be easy, and we'll get it done. And then it starts presenting the reality of what that actually looks like. So I had the idea, which was, I knew I wanted it to be this kind of surreal, dreamlike, trippy thing, I suppose. I love I love sci-fi, I love horror, I love kind of some surrealism in movies. And so it was supposed to be this kind of Vietnam soldier falls asleep in Vietnam, wakes up in the future in Florida. He doesn't know it's Florida, but wakes up in the future and is kind of haunted, maybe still in a dream, and is kind of haunted by this soldier that he couldn't save. Mm-hmm. But trying to tell that story in 3 minutes with no dialogue, I quickly realized was a challenge. But so it ended up kind of being even more kind of surrealist than I had intended. Like I've never met anyone who's like, yeah, I know what that means. I know what that story is. Like, but I don't. Luckily, the song is called "Strange Times," so I've got an excuse. I can kind of go, well, it's strange. It's
strange, yeah, really.
Yeah.
I say that because I like the painting. I want to know like what that means.
The mandala.
Yeah.
Obviously, the concept of the song, everything's a circle. And then when Homeboy sent his verse back, which is genius, like every line references, some kind of circle or circular motion. And then he has the lyric, the pattern on the mandala. Don't focus on the $1 look at the pattern on the mandala.
Okay.
And a mandala, stop me if you know, but a mandala is, and I might not be getting this right. As far as I know, it's the Buddhist tradition of they make a really intricate circular painting, and it might take them
a really long time.
And then yeah, exactly. And like that's such an amazing. Everything about that I love. Firstly, because I'm not sure I'd be able to do it, which is why it's interesting. Like why? Because that's the whole point, right? Obviously means I have an ego attached to the thing. Anyway, my friend is a great painter, the guy who does it in the video. And I just asked if he would do in his own interpretation and his own style, a mandala. So that's what that is.
It was great.
The meaning of his actual mandala is in his head. I don't know. His interpretation.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Like it was something that catch my attention, and I wanna know about Nature Mother, the lyrics, what it means, and if you use like metaphors or. I think this is like a metaphor for, I don't know if your mom or something like that, or Mother Nature, like really nature.
Yeah, I really love when people have their own meaning of what a song is. I love that. I think even when you think you know what the meaning is, my own interpretation changes. The idea originally, what is it? If it's in you, it's in me, it's our nature mother, is the idea was to say we're in a world where we are constantly judging and calling people out and kind of virtue signaling and pointing fingers and it's to say, I think we all have every possible behavior in us. No one's better than anyone else. It's just like learning to use those things for good. So nature, like, wild of the wind, rage of the sea, like nature is violent, but it can also be the most beautiful. And you don't judge it for it. You accept that it's both. Like a fire can be warm your hands and destroy your house, but it's I guess the concept is like, and also the idea that we're this big.
Yeah.
It's to kind of go help,
okay.
Or I'm sorry.
Okay, it's a good way to see it, and I want to ask. Lyrically, how do you write your songs? And now, you put the music first or the lyric first? I know it's a process, like complicated process, but
no, it's actually lyrics is the thing that I'm least. Weirdly, it's kind of one of the most important things to me, and the thing that I find least, I don't want to say stressful, the most enjoyment, because of the zone I get in when I write those lyrics. Is like I love that zone of just, I don't know, if I think too much about it, I go down a whole rabbit hole. But the idea that essentially what your brain is doing is like you're waiting for your brain to find the right thing, and I love that. That's such a meditative state, and I very often the opposite. I'm rarely still. Mm-hmm. So writing lyrics, I kind of is one of the only times I get to just be like, I'm not sitting there like that. I'm like pacing, but the idea that your brain's just in this one thing. So often I'll get a line.
Yeah.
Often in the shower for some reason, like the Nature Mother thing. The Nature Mother was just the idea of putting it the other way round. And then I'll figure out what that means. Carousel, I love that word, how that word sounds. And it was also about an ayahuasca experience I had of the kind of circle nature of things. I don't sit with a paper and a pen. Very often I'll get the idea and then I'll make the music. So I have the idea, I'll make the music, which I think sounds like the idea. And then when the music's done, I'll loop it for hours and hours and just pace and pace and pace. And then almost at the mic, like I've seen rappers do this.
Yeah.
I'll piece it together. I'll write a line, record it, pace a bit more. I mean, maybe it comes from being a singer last or something, but to me it's like a layer. I don't know what the melody. I'm not like, and the melody's gonna go like this. I don't know until it happens, really.
Okay. Actually, I was gonna ask. Well, I was gonna tell you that you give me in melodic in your melodics, you give me like a vibe of Bon Iver. I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah, I love Bon. That's a huge compliment.
And I don't know if the voice, because it's a little raspy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But your voice it's more like soft, but I kind of have those vibes of your voice, like in the melody, like floating around, and I see it too in the drums, because the drums are not always in a line, like what I hear, it's in some points you make like a hit that it's not in line, so como que that's something like captured my attention. It's really cool about your music.
Oh, thank you so much. I absolutely love Bon Iver. I mean, a huge, that's one of those artists where if I know they've got a record coming out, I need like Radiohead or something like that, where I'm just like, I need to hear it. And I agree with you on the I suppose I see a similarity. Not that I would ever compare myself to Bon Iver, but I certainly don't get a sense that he sits down and is like, the melody's going to go like this. You just feel like he's just kind of emoting, I suppose.
Yeah, and other artists are I hear like a little thing. It's more in the production, in the drums, in the, I don't know if you know Saba.
Yeah.
In one way, you remind me a lot of that sound, and too with the image. It's like he's telling a story with the film and with the drums and with the beat. And I don't know if you rap, but
I wish.
But I think it's similar in just the beat and the music and the film. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Like just that everything in there is an opportunity to not tell the story, but be a part of the story. Like not just drums for drums' sake. It's like if the song is about, I don't know, the circular nature. It's like thinking of the layers more like characters in the movie rather than like this needs drums and the rhythm should probably like similar to the singing. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do next.
It's great.
Do you make music?
Yeah. I do music. I do like R&B music.
Oh, sick! You sing?
Yeah.
You'll have to send it to me.
Yeah, sure.
Do you rap?
A little bit. I try to, but it's not like my forte. So I just do a melodic and type R&B and some rap in like
more like
spaces.
The phrase,
but yeah,
how you phrase things, like rather than like rap. Like I wish I could rap, or I wish my voice sounded good when I rap. So instead, I get inspired by like the phrasing of how rappers use rhythm.
Yeah. And I want to ask, this is Chris, but West Side or East Side? I feel that you're more like a West Side, but you tell me.
Interesting. I've got to say East Side, but it's because of the beat.
Okay.
Like, it's because like jazz and soul samples, and like the production's a bit dustier and a bit more worn in. Like, you know, I mean, I think the lines are all a bit more blurred now, but like back in the day, it was like you could really define an East Coast sound with a West Coast sound, and then even like an Atlanta sound with a thing. And for me, I just always gravitated towards like chopping up a soul sample or an old, rather than the more funky thing that was happening. I mean, don't get me wrong, like some of that music, you know, I'll never forget first hearing like Snoop's voice and just being like, what? How can a human sound like, that good?
Yeah, but Biggie had that voice that puts you in a position that it's like, I want to hear this because it's strong. It had that message, and the beat, it's like going with the flow. So
yeah. Oh my God! Like, I think exactly that was one of the things. I remember when I first would listen to rap, and I had no reference for what the fuck they were talking about. That wasn't my world, still isn't. But it just, like you said, it just made me feel bigger.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So if I had to choose, yeah, like if I had to make a top 5 rappers, which is, you know, always a fun debate, is
Please.
I'm sure they would pretty much all be East Coast. Maybe Kendrick in there.
Can you tell us like your big 3?
Oh fuck!
Not in order, just
Jay-Z number 1.
Okay,
and I didn't get Jay-Z for a long time. I thought it was like almost like pop rap. You know?
Yeah.
I liked like Wu-Tang and like Homeboy Sandman and these like underground New York things. And so I thought like Hard Knock Life and stuff was like a pop record. And then I heard the Blueprint, and then I started to listen to him, and I was like, oh fuck, this is why he's every rapper's favorite rapper. Yeah.
The second place?
Fuck.
It's a tough question, but we had to know.
Second place.
Or if you want to go to the third, it's...
Okay, so second place... I mean, I've got to put Homeboys... Right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put Homeboy Sandman number 1.
Okay.
Because to this day, I still can't believe I get to work with someone I was just a genuine massive fan of.
Okay.
So I just for like everything included, Homeboy Sandman number 1, Jay-Z number 2, and then the third rapper is a UK rapper called Jest, Jehst.
Okay, Jest.
100% worth checking out. Like, just unbelievable, and he's been doing it since. He's still going, and was doing it when I first discovered hip hop. Still one of the best live shows I've ever seen. Yeah. Such a weird top 3. I mean, I could make my like famous rappers top 3 too.
Yeah.
Which would be like Jay-Z number 1, number 2 would probably be Biggie, and then number 3 would be Pharoah Monch.
Okay, that's a good bit 3. Can you give me like 2 songs that you're listening to in this moment? That's inspire you, or in your day it's like, I want to play this because it sounds great and I had to wake up with this.
God, what have I been listening to recently? Sometimes when I'm listening, when I'm making music, I listen to stuff that doesn't have words.
Okay, not instrumental.
It's too confusing. And I discovered, because I saw somewhere I had it on vinyl, and I like remembered the record, a Fortet album called Rounds,
okay,
which is absolutely amazing. Like, I don't even know what genre. I guess it's a dance record, but it's so much deeper and more immersive. It's amazing. So a Fortet album called Rounds. I've been listening to that again, and then I've been obviously listening to the Kendrick Drake back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's the thing, right? But I think Kendrick wins. It's over for Drake. Yeah.
Because
I don't know how you like go out with the I don't know what's the name, the last track.
It's
like that or something like that.
Yeah. Not Like Us. Is it called that?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
I don't know how you recover from that.
Oh.
Right.
No, and it's genius, right? Yeah. Because this rap beef in particular was so much about like listening to the words that it felt in the first few releases whatever beat. But he made a song.
Yeah.
With like hooks, the beat's amazing. So automatically you're like, well, this is fucking sick.
I think it's over for Drake. And to Metro Booming and the beat, the BBL Drizzy beat.
Oh my god,
that's fucking genius. Just it's amazing. And we don't have like a lot of time, but I wanna finish this with you telling something to the people, to the youngest, to the people it's starting in his career in music, and what would you tell them to be happy in music?
Firstly, I can't believe how quick the time's gone. Great questions. That's what that is. Just feels like a conversation. And also, your questions are really good. So I just go on and on. Advice. I always feel weird about giving advice. I need advice.
Everyone needs advice.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. There you go. Always stay curious. There is no moment where you've arrived. Like at the beginning of my career, it was like, if I get this, if this happens, if I sign this deal, if I get this, then I'll be like, great, I did it. There's no I did it.
Yeah.
And I think the longer you can, and it is survival, the longer you can survive in the music industry, whatever that means, the more I think you just learn to, you go back in time to when you just realize, oh, I've just got to do this because I love it. There is no, a few of those things happen that I thought, when I get there.
It just happened.
And it's just another thing you do, which is amazing. It's another amazing thing. So grateful. But then the next day you're like, now what? And that's the amazing. Like, stay curious. Always like, what if you put that with that? That's what keeps me going into the studio.
Like creativity and just having fun in the studio. It's all you need.
Stay open, stay curious. There's no winning or losing. That's what's beautiful about making things. There's no, maybe in rap beefs, there's winning and losing, but not for me.
Okay. Well, thanks for the time and thanks for your answers. It was amazing to know you and to know your preference in music and all of that. Thanks, and we see you in another time. You're coming to Mexico?
Oh yeah, I cannot wait. I was stuck in Mexico for a month last year.
Okay.
When I was trying to get back from Colombia, and they asked my visa messed up or whatever, and they asked where I wanted to go, and I was like, Mexico. And I ended up being in Mexico City for a month, and I didn't want to leave. I absolutely love Mexico. So the first opportunity to play a show there, I'll be there.
We'll wait. We are waiting for you. So
I cannot wait.
Really welcome.
Send me your music. I'd love to.
Yeah, sure.